Good morning, students. Today's our topic is muscle tissues. Student, we have read till connective tissues. Now we will start with muscle tissues. Now, muscles. Muscles are very important as they help in movement. In our body. Now, each muscle is made up of many long and cylindrical fibers, and these fibers are arranged parallelly. Now, these muscle fibers contract in response to any stimulus and then relax to return its original position. Now, the action of the body to adjust to the change to the environment and to maintain position of various parts of the body. Now, in general, muscles play a very important role in the movement of the body. Now, student, basically muscles are of three types: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Skeletal muscles are closely attached to the skeletal bones. These are mainly found in biceps. These are basically straighted or stripped. Means the muscle in skeletal muscles, fibers are parallelly arranged. Means the fibers of the fibers are bundled, which are together in a parallel fashions. Now, a sheet of tough connective tissue encloses several bundles of muscle fibers. Okay. Now you can see in figure 7.7. Now, smooth muscles. These muscles trappers at both the end, means these are fusiforms. They do not show any striation or stripped. They are not stripped. Cell junctions hold them together and they are bundled together in a connective tissue sheet. Now, the wall of the internal organs like blood vessels, stomach, and intestine contain these types of muscle tissues. Now, muscle tissues are involuntary. Why they are involuntary? They are not under our control. We cannot control them. We can control the activities of blood vessels or stomach or intestine. No, they are not in our control. No, so we can call them involuntary. They usually are not able to make it contract nearly by thinking about it as we can do with skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles are voluntary, means they are under our control. We can stretch our limbs, we can stretch our limbs in any position, so it means they are under our control, so we can call them voluntary. But smooth muscles are involuntary. Then come cardiac muscles tissues. They are cardiac muscle tissue is a contractile tissue and it is basically present in the heart. So as the name cardiac muscle, so we can say it is present in heart. Cell junction fuses the plasma membrane of cardiac muscle cells. Cell junction fuse the plasma membrane of cardiac muscle cells and make them stick together. Now, what happen in this? In this, the muscles are stick together, means they are tightly arranged. Communication junctions at some fusion points allow the cells to contract as a unit. That is, one cell receive a signal to contract and its neighbor cells are also stimulated to contract. Means if one cell is receiving any signal, it is transmitted to the other cells also. Okay. Now, next come neural tissues. Neural tissues exert a great control over the body responsiveness to changing conditions. Now, neurons. Neurons is a structure and functional unit of nervous systems. These are excitable cells. Means if any response is given to these cells, they are excited. The nuclear cells, which constitute the rest of the neural system, protect and support neurons. Neuroglia made up of more than one half the volume of neural tissue in our body. Now, basically, neuroglia is make one half of the volume of total neural tissues which are present in our body. When a neuron is suitably stimulated, an electric disturbance is generated, which swiftly travels along its plasma membrane. Suppose if there is any disturbance received by an organism, it is swiftly transmitted to the plasma membrane, and from plasma membrane it is transferred to the brain. Arrival of the disturbance at the neural ends or output zone triggers event that may cause stimulation or inhibition of adjacent neurons and other cells. Means if one cell is excited, then it transmits an impulse from one cell to another. So in this way, the impulse are jumped from one neuron to another and it is directly transmitted to the brain. Now, next come organ and organ system. Now, you know that cell is made up of many cell made tissues, and tissue leads to formation of organ, and organ form a whole organ system. Okay. Now in this chapter we will study about different organisms also, like earthworm, cockroach, and frog. Now first come to earthworm. Earthworm kaisa, you all have seen earthworm. Basically earthworm is found in farms or in soil. So what is the importance of earthworm? Basically it increases the fertility of the soil. So we can say that earthworms are friends of farmers. Now earthworm is a reddish brown terrestrial invertebrate. You know what are invertebrates? Invertebrates are those organisms which do not have vertebrae or chordates. They are grouped under invertebrates. So it is reddish brown in color. Terrestrial means it is basically crawl on land, or it is found on land, that inhabits the upper layer of the moist layer. Now during daytime they live in the burrows made by boring and swallowing the soil. In the gardens they can be traced by their fecal deposits known as worm casting. Now the fecal matters of earthworm is known as worm casting. It is very important as it increases the fertility of the soil, because it contains many important nutrients which is required by the plants. Now the common Indian earthworms are Pheretima and Lumbricus. So these are the scientific name of earthworm, that is Pheretima and Lumbricus. Now we will study about the morphology. What is morphology? Morphology means the external structures of which an organism is made up of. Now earthworm have long cylindrical body. It is divided into many segments. These are known as metamers. How many segments earthworm has? 100 to 120. Now the dorsal body surface is marked by a dark median mid dorsal line. Now the dorsal surface of the body has a mid dorsal line which is present to the dorsal blood vessels along the longitudinal axis of the body. Now the ventral surface is distinguished by the presence of genital openings. Now the anterior consists of mouth and a prostomium. Now we can say that anterior part is consist of basically two parts. One is prostomium, which is the anterior part of which is present above the mouth, and the second one is peristomium. It is the first body segment. So don't confuse between prostomium and peristomium. Peristomium is the first body segment and prostomium is the opening. Prostomium is a part which is above the mouth opening, which is present above the mouth. Okay. In a mature worm, segments 14 to 16 are covered by a prominent dark bands of glandular tissue called clitellum. Now, if the earthworm become mature, then at segments between 14 to 16, there is an area called clitellum is present, and basically it is covered by a dark band of glandular tissues. Now next come is, now on the basis of presence of clitellum, body of earthworm is divided into three prominent regions. The area which is present above clitellum is known as preclitellar, then clitellar, and the area which is present below the clitellar is known as postclitellar segments. Now, four pairs of spermatical apertures are situated on the ventrolateral sides of the intersegmental grooves, that is between 5th to 9th segment. A female genital pore is present at the 14th segment, that lies mid-ventrally, and a male genital pore is present at the 18th segment. So make a note students. Female genital pore is present in the 14th segment and male genital pore is present in the 18th segment, and both these pores are lied mid-ventrally. And now in each body segment except the first, last and clitellum, there are rows of S-shaped CTs embedded in the epidermal pits in the middle of each segment. Now CT can be extended and retracted, and their main role is in locomotion. Now see, a row of CT is present in each segment in a form of a ring, and basically these CTs are embedded in the epidermal part, and basically these are present in the middle of each segments, and these CTs can be extended and retracted according to the locomotion. Okay, so basically we can say that the main function of CT is in locomotion. Now come anatomy. What is anatomy? Study. Now what is anatomy? Anatomy is the study of internal structure of organism. Now the body wall of earthworm is covered externally by a thin non-cellular cuticle, below which is the epidermis. Now you know students that the outermost covering or the layer which is present in the earthworm is epidermis. Above epidermis there is a layer of cuticle, and cuticle is basically non-cellular. Okay, now what the function of cuticle? It is basically providing protection to the earthworm body. Now below epidermis, two muscle cells are there. One is circular and another one is longitudinal, and the innermost coelomic epithelium is also there. Now the epidermis. Epidermis is made up of single layer of columnar epithelial cells. Now which types of cells are there? Columnar epithelial cells. We have read before about this, है ना? What are columnar epithelial cells? And basically these are secretory gland cells. Now next come alimentary canal. Now alimentary canal, you can see in figure 7.10, it is a straight tube and it runs from first to last segment of the body. Now the terminal mouth opens into the buccal cavity. Now the first part of alimentary canal is mouth. It opens into the buccal cavity, and buccal cavity lies between 1 to 3rd segments. Now buccal cavity leads into a pharynx. Pharynx is muscular. A narrow tube called esophagus is present between 5th to 7th segment, and it continues into a gizzard, and gizzard is muscular. Okay, now gizzard is found between 8th to 9th segment. Now what is the function of gizzard? It mainly helps in grinding the soil particles and decaying leaves. As you all have seen that in the grinder which we use in the kitchen, what is the function of grinder is it just grinds the food particles. In the same way, the gizzard also grinds the soil particles. Now gizzards leads to stomach, and stomach lies between 9 to 14th segments. Now what is the food of earthworm? The food of earthworm is basically the decay leaves and organic matters which is present in the soil. Calcareous glands, it is present in the stomach, and it secretes a humic acid which neutralizes the humus. You know student, humus is basically what? It is soil, and the soil which is rich in nutrient particles. So basically what earthworm is eating? Soil only, na? Soil contain humus. So just to neutralize humus, what it is secreting? It is secreting humic acid. Now intestine, it starts from 15th segment and continues up to the last segment. A pair of short and colonial intestinal ceca also projects or come out from intestine, which is on the 26th segment. Now the characteristic feature of the intestine after 26th segment, except the last 23rd and 25th segment, is the presence of internal median fold of dorsal wall called typhlosole. Now typhlosole is present after 26th segment except 23rd and 25th. Now what this is doing? Now this increases the effective area of absorption in the intestine. Basically what typhlosole is doing? It is increasing the absorption area in the intestine. Now the alimentary canal is open to the exterior by an aperture called anus. Now through anus the fecal matter is removed or given out inside, or moved or just removed out. The ingested organic rich soil passes through the digestive tract, where digestive enzymes break complex food into smaller observable units. Now these simpler molecules are observed through intestinal membranes and are utilized. Now what happened in this? The food which is ingested rich in organic particles. Now this is organic particle. This is basically these are complex molecules. Food is in a form of complex molecule, is converted into a smaller observable units which is observed by the intestinal membrane, and it is utilized according to the body needs. Now pheretima. Pheretima has closed types of blood vascular system. Basically consist of blood vessels, capillaries and hearts. Now we can say that like human, pheretima also has closed type of blood vascular system, and apart from this it also contains vessels, capillaries and heart. Now due to closed system, blood is confined to heart and blood vessels only, means blood will flow in heart and blood vessels only. It will not move anywhere else. Now contraction keeps blood circulating in one direction. So we can see that in earthworm blood will flow in one direction only. Smaller blood vessels supplied to gut, nerve cord and the body wall. Now blood glands are present. Now basically blood glands are present on fourth, fifth and sixth segment. They produce blood cells and hemoglobin, which is dissolved in the blood plasma. Now blood cells are phagocytic, means if there is any microbe present in the blood, these cells, what these cells will do, they will engulf that foreign particle. So means we can say that they are showing phagocytic nature. uh, Earthworm lacks specialized breathing devices, means earthworm do not have any specialized breathing devices like lungs and all, which is basically present, but earthworm don't have all these types of devices. Respiration basically occurs through body surface only, that is through skin only, through the body surface only into their blood streams. Okay, now study, now this much we'll study today, only this much.